Hey guys, it's Jim, welcome back to the channel, and it's time for another podcast special, and this is a look at the 1992 drama directed by Martin Brest and starring Al Pacino and Chris O'Donnell, Scent of a Woman. Scent of a Woman tells the story of Chris O'Donnell, who is a working class lad who has ended up at a pretty rich school, who kind of gets blackmailed by his rich friends. They commit a prank, he gets caught up in it, and he has to either testify against them and squeal and snitch on them, or he can of course choose not to. Whilst he's grappling with this decision, he takes a weekend job to watch over former Army Lieutenant Colonel Frank Slade, and the film is about their relationship, getting to know each other, how we find out Frank, played by Al Pacino, is an erratic and unpredictable alcoholic. Frank ends up impulsively taking Charlie to New York, and it's about that whole crazy experience. Scent of a Woman is a wonderful piece of work. Al Pacino finally won his Oscar as Frank Slade. Now, a lot of people have said that this was one of those token Oscars where Pacino had been long overdue. That is true, you know, he'd had 8 nominations up to this point, but I do believe his performance as Frank Slade is an Oscar-worthy performance. I think it's a stunning, towering performance.
Thumb to palm, index finger through little digit, smartly aligned. Sharp to the hairline, down!
Pacino is completely convincing, obviously as a blind man, but he's even more convincing as this angry, bitter, aggressive, and even at times dangerous former general who you just don't know what he's going to do next. Then in certain scenes, he's completely endearing as Frank. Frank is charming. This is a character who is endlessly fascinating. You know, you don't know what you're going to get out of him. He's a man who's in pain, who just takes it out on the world, and he takes it out on Charlie. And Chris O'Donnell is wonderful because he's so naive and he's so innocent, and you'd think Chris O'Donnell would have gone on to become a huge star when you look at this performance. It's a great little performance because he's so young and he's so sweet and he's such a good kid, and he meets this crazy, dangerous guy who is just trying his best to provoke him at all times and just trying his best to get in his head at all times. And this kid doesn't deserve this, but this kid manages to kind of penetrate Frank's resentment for the world. But what we'll say is this could be a very 90s cheese fest. You know, there are slight moments like that, but what I like about this film is that every time you think this is going to go all sweet and syrupy, Frank becomes a horrible person again. It is a film about you can't just unravel from that level of deep self-resentment that quickly. That's that kind of element of Rain Man and Good Will Hunting and some of the Robin Williams 90s films. You know, it is in moments sweet and syrupy, but it's also dark and looming. I don't like it when people say Al Pacino always plays the same character. I don't agree. I think he has certain nuances that which he brings, and he does bring them to Frank, but this is a whole new dimension of Pacino. You know, this is a Pacino intimidating us through a blind man. Frank is a tragic character, and I don't think we'd ever seen Al Pacino play such a tragic character. And Charlie just grows simultaneous fear but at the same time affection for Frank. You know, it's really fascinating to see their relationship develop. And this is a coming of age film. It really is about life decisions and crossroads in life. But both of these men are at crossroads, but just at different life stages. So obviously Charlie has to decide, you know, what decision to make which will set up his future. But Frank already has a past, and he's at a crossroads in his life where he has to decide whether he will just give up or whether he will regain his faith in life. It's a film about hope and human interaction and two people meeting and how two people in a chance meeting can change each other's lives. I love that idea about it. I love how it is about young and old coming together. What a great thing. You know, we need more movies about young and old people coming together because they can teach each other so much. Even though Frank is a wild and crazy individual and aggressive and horrible, he teaches Charlie life lessons. But Charlie teaches Frank the innocence and the optimism that he has forgot. Charlie teaches Frank to like himself again. It really is a wonderful film in the way that they play off each other in that respect, and it's so impressive to see Chris O'Donnell go back and forth with Al Pacino. You know, Chris O'Donnell went on to play Robin in Batman Forever and then Batman and Robin. Didn't really do much after that, and it's a shame because this is a performance which is fantastic. It really, really is. He's kind of perfectly cast, as I said. It's a real shame Chris O'Donnell never got the chances again, because this is just him acting opposite one of the greatest actors of all time and carrying his own. Charlie really is the heart of the film. He's the one who kind of engineers all the change in the film, all the change in Frank, all the change in what goes on around him. It's what Charlie chooses to do that determines where this film ends up. You know, Charlie, he has this decision to make of whether or not to squeal, but it turns into he has a decision to make with Frank, whether to be his friend to the end or to give up on him like everyone else has. Frank has so many little character quirks, like obviously the way he talks about women, hence the title Scent of a Woman. You know, he talks about the things that he likes, the pleasures in life that he likes, and he shows Charlie those pleasures.
Tits. Hoo-ah. Big ones, little ones.
And the film really is about Frank's tastes and how Frank likes to spend his time. And it's about Frank's colourful language and the little quirks that he has and the memorable quotes and nuances to this character. You can't help but like him when he is showing that good person inside, when he's showing that person who knows so much about the world, who can teach people so much. He's just lost his way. So we get loads of fun scenes of Frank showing Charlie the good life in New York, you know, but again, we're always on the edge of our seats because it's a man suffering with a breakdown. So we get moments of joy and fun, and then the next moment we're worried again for Charlie, and we feel sorry for him to have to go through this with Frank. And there really are some devastating scenes where we see Frank breaking down and all the unresolved issues come to the surface, like when he takes Charlie to have dinner with his brother and his family. They don't want him there, and Frank can't help but go down that path again of being the horrible person in his family, the arsehole basically. And one of Frank's family members just starts laying into him at the table, and the strange thing about this little scene is Frank starts joining in and completing the sentences of this family member who is telling Charlie about the horrible things Frank did. So Frank's literally joining in with someone telling Charlie the truth about what a horrible person he is. It's devastating. And then when he leaves, he looks at his brother and says, "I'm no good and I never have been." That moment is heartbreaking stuff.
I'm no fucking good. And I never have been.
It just really is deeper than some of the stuff he'd done before, because Frank, you know, is a normal person. He's not a gangster, he's not got loads of money, he was just a general, and what he saw and what he went through turned him into something bad. But he's not a genuinely bad person, he's a person who's been moulded by what he's gone through. Obviously we get the Ferrari scene where Frank and Charlie rent a Ferrari and Frank takes the wheel, and a hilarious line is, "Don't blame me, Charlie, I can't see. Don't blame me for almost killing us, I can't bloody see." This is a wild and crazy scene which should be more remembered among 90s set pieces because it's mental. And I love the moment where they get stopped by the police and the intrigue of whether the policeman will find out that Frank is blind, but Frank somehow gets out of it. And it's an example of Frank's great charm and Frank's likeable personality and how he can actually get people on side, and he actually has things he can offer to the world. There is a truly intense and nerve-wracking scene between Chris O'Donnell and Al Pacino in this movie, which I really don't want to spoil for people who haven't seen it, but Frank really is at the end, and it's up to Charlie to bring him back from the end, and that's all I'll say about that scene. But there are exchanges such as Charlie saying, "You're not bad, you're just in pain," and the conviction in which Chris O'Donnell says it. I mean, I'm just so impressed the way he goes back and forth with Al Pacino and stands up to Al Pacino in that scene. They work together so well, just trying to get through to Frank, trying to break down that wall when we're literally at the end game, as well as a wonderful speech by Al Pacino at the end. I mean, there is just a fantastic idea that just carries this film through. This is a film which leaves you optimistic at the end. This is a film that leaves you happy with a smile on your face in that great 90s way that so many 90s bittersweet films did. But you know, after a really thoughtful journey, after a really intense journey, after a Hollywood journey, but you know, an honest and deep journey. And this film needs to be talked about more. You know, I know a lot of people look at it as just the film where Pacino finally got his Oscar, but it's more than that. This character is very memorable, and the ideas in this film and the nuances and the back and forth and the friendship that develops is very, very interesting. And I love how director Martin Brest really lets this film just breathe and makes it all about that interaction and that genuinity and that feeling creeping up on you. Gradually, you start off hating Frank with passion, but gradually starting to like him, but never letting you off the hook. Always reminding you that Frank is really doing bad things, but helping you kind of slowly but surely be absorbed into forgiving Frank, the same way Charlie is. And there it is, guys, another podcast special. I love talking about movies like this, actors like Al Pacino, Robert De Niro. I love talking about their gangster films, their crime films, also their movies like this. And I love talking about cult movies that don't get much attention. So if you enjoyed all that good stuff, please consider subscribing to this channel, but definitely tell me what you think of Scent of a Woman in the comments below. And if you haven't seen it, you definitely should. I will see you guys in the next video.